Welcome to today's Daily Fire. Today's topic is this. You might have a doorway, but it doesn't mean you can get through it. Sit back and relax, and welcome to today's show. So, as you can see, and hopefully not hear, I got my filters and all that on, but it is a little bit windy. See my shirt flipping around. A little bit windy here in Kauai today. We got a storm that's been brewing around. There was a crazy rainstorm, all this chaoticness. But we are here on the beach, about ready to do the show. So we're excited to be here. I'm excited to be here, and excited to share today's fire with you because it's kind of a funny one. So we're sitting there about 2 or 3 in the morning, not last night, but 2 nights ago, and we hear this loud bang. It sounds like somebody hit the house. Like it was loud. This loud bang woke us up and searched around the house trying to figure out what the heck the sound was. Nobody could figure out what the sound was. Goes back. We all go back to bed, and it's like, well, I guess the sound was in our minds. Who knows? And so we wake up, we get ready, and first thing we're getting ready to do on a Sunday morning was head to church. So we get up, we get showered up, we're getting ready. Everything's, family's all prepped. We're getting ready, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go outside and get the car started, and get ready to go. So I go out and I hit the garage door button, and garage sounds normal, starts to open, but it only opens about 6 inches. And in that 6 inches of it opening up, all of a sudden it's goes and then it stops. And I'm all, what the heck? So I hit the button again, it goes back down. I'm all, what is going on? I hit it again. I do this 2 or 3 times before I notice that the spring on the garage door tensioner is broken. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, and first I'm like, well, it shouldn't be a big deal. Let me go disengage the automatic garage, opener. So I'm thinking this would solve the problem, and then I'll just go push the door up because I've had to push the door up before, so I was like, not a big deal. But I go over there, and it's funny, my little girl's sitting there watching, and she's literally just like, Dad, are we stuck in here? And I'm like, no, we're not stuck in here. I'm like, I can just lift the door. I go over, I disconnect it, and I start to try to push the garage door up, and the thing feels like it weighs 20,000 pounds. I'm like, what I didn't realize is that the spring itself is actually what helps pull the door up. In fact, the spring's broke. I have like this dead weight spring on one side, which is like wedging up and creating this problem for me. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, we are legitimately stuck. We are stuck inside the garage. I'm like, what are we going to do with it? I'm like, oh crap. So it took some time, took some thinking. I had to put my thinker cap on, and I went into my wife. I'm like, babe, we're stranded. Like, we can't get out. I pulled my car. They're stuck in the garage. Like, we can't go. We can't. I'm like, holy crap. So I'm like calling anyone I can think of. I'm leaving messages because obviously it's Sunday. Nobody's open. Nobody's willing to help. And I'm like, how can I be stranded here? I'm like, this is wild. I'm like, I'm stuck in my garage. I can't get the door open. And I was trying to push and muscle, and it was just not moving. So I had finally this inspirational moment, and I'm like, let me hook the automatic door back up. And I'm like, only one spring's broken, which if I can go lift the side that has the broken spring, while the other spring and the motor are pulling the garage door up, maybe I can get it. And turns out my wife went over, pressed the button, and kind of like made sure that happened. And I pushed the door up. And first try, I was able to get like 3 feet. And we had to go again, went down, and it came back up. And this time I was just push. And I was able to make it all the way to the top. And we were no longer stranded inside of our house. So we weren't trapped. We weren't trapped any longer. So I've reflected on this because there's several things that I take away from the experience. But one of them I want to share with you today is that there are doorways. There are doorways that exist, but that doesn't mean you can just go through them. Right? The doors exist in life. Like there's passages, there's decisions that you need to make. And there's a left or a right. There's a right or a wrong in the decision that you're making, that you may perceive it that way. Right? That's your language. Right? You're like, oh, this is the right, this is the wrong. But either way, it's just a choice. Right? The Cheshire Cat with Alice in Wonderland. Left or right, left or right. There's these decisions to be made. There's doorways that we can choose to go through. But sometimes going through these doorways isn't as simple as walking up to the door and just pressing the button and going through. Sometimes, even though they're the correct door, to go through that door, you actually have to work for it. You actually have to put effort in to get through the door. So it's one thing to be inspired by God to say, hey, this is the direction I need to go. It's a whole nother thing to be inspired by God and then put in the work. Right? No different than my garage door was not going to open by just pressing the button. I had to physically go put in the work, i.e. lift the garage door up in order for me to go through the door. God is leading and inspiring you to do certain things in your life, But because the resistance to you seems too hard, it seems like, well, if God told me to do it, it should be easy and I should just be able to walk through the door. Because that doesn't happen, you think, well, maybe God didn't say to do that. Maybe this isn't the right path. Maybe this, maybe that. And you go and you leave the door that was clearly in front of you, but instead of putting the effort in to open the door, you just walk away. Right? You walk away and you create these other stories and narratives. So consider that there's doorways that are open to you right now that if you would just put the work in, they would open up. And when those doorways open up, your whole life opens up. Just like being stuck in my house, then all of a sudden I get the door open, now I'm free to roam the island. But before that, I was stuck in the house. So take a look at your world around body, being, balance, and business. Where in your world are you stuck in your house? Where are you stuck because you have a door in front of you that you haven't put the effort in to open? I'm not talking about a locked door or a door that's padlocked and there's no entry. I'm talking about the door that if you would just put the work in, you would be able to open that door, which would then open up the possibility of what you have on the other side. Where is that area for you? Pick that area, and what's one thing you can do to do the work today to begin opening that door? And do it. That's it. And go do it. So, as always, this is your boy, Trevor J. White, reminding you that you're only one pivot away.